Good morning. Thank you to everybody that's going to be tuning in. I can't see comments, so I'll catch up with you all later if anybody leaves me a comment. I should say that I am in the middle of a 2.5 day crash at the moment. You can't see with this lighting, but I've got a flushed face and I've lost my hand-eye coordination, which is why I'm doing a video rather than a blog. I've written notes, but you are not looking at the handwriting or the spelling mistakes. Anyway, but the reason I'm doing a video as well is because I normally don't do videos when I'm crashed, especially not with Stripy, because I normally can't string 2 words together for longer than maybe 2 minutes. So this is you seeing me when I'm on my I'm literally 2.5 days into a crash. So I'm still crashed, but I'm nowhere near as bad as I was yesterday. People with ME will know what I mean when I say I couldn't really feel my arms and legs. They were so heavy. I couldn't move properly last night, but slightly better today at the moment. So anyway, so it's been an absolutely dreadful couple of weeks. In fact, I would say, been quite a bad couple of months really, with the DWP benefit fiasco. Just in case you don't know, as Stripy Lightbulb CIC, we are a community interest company. We're part of the VCSE what's it called? It's not an organisation. VCSE sector. That's the word I was looking for. VCSE sector. So we are included in the same bracket as charities. So because of that, we are allowed to go into various DWP meetings as a VCSE. This is going well. So for the past couple of months, I've been in various DWP benefit meetings. And I will say now that as far as I'm aware, Stripy Lightbulb is the only ME CFS organisation in those meetings. Now, the reason I say as far as I'm aware is because sometimes you can only see somebody's initials. They don't necessarily put the name of the organisation. But I will say that I am the only person that verbally in those meetings represents ME patients. So whether the other charities or organisations are in those meetings, I'm the only one talking about the problems that our community is encountering. So anyway, just as a caveat, in all these various disability groups that I'm in, because of brain fog, I can't remember what I'm not allowed to talk about and what I am. So I'm not saying anything that could possibly be confidential, because obviously that doesn't just impact Stripy Lightbulb, that impacts, because it's not ME specific, it's all sorts of disabilities and groups. So I won't be giving specific info, but I'll be giving kind of vague stuff. Anyway, so because of these meetings, and I should also say I'm part of various disability charity and organisation groups as well that aren't anything to do with the DWP, but they fight against DWP disability benefit decisions. So I'm part of those groups too. So lots of meetings happening on top of all the charter stuff. So yeah, that's why it seems like I've had an awful lot of meetings just lately. Anyway, so due to these meetings that I'm in, I'm part of the fight back at an organisational level. So ME, patient voices, because I am one, but also because I'm an ME campaigner and I represent you. And my organisation, Stripy Lightbulb CIC, works for your benefit. So if we get any profit, it's going to go towards the patient community. So anyway, so because of all this work, I have concerns. And I'm going to mention a few of them in here, but I've got a lot of concerns. I'm not necessarily going to cover them all now. So the first one, the 4-point rule. I call it a rule. I literally think someone plucked that out of thin air because we don't know who came up with that figure. There has not been any consultation with any charity or patient organisation group, patient representative group. And Labour keeps saying we want to make sure that we look after those with the most serious or severe disabilities. But if they're using this 4-point thing to categorise the eligibility, where did they get it from? Because an awful lot of people in our community, the ME/CFS community, are physically unable to work, but most often do not get 4 points. And just to put something in here, now I'm on other benefits and I get a health uplift, and that's going to be impacted by these changes. The reason I'm mentioning that is that when I was talking to the job coach, she said, I can tell just from talking to you that you are eligible for PIP because you're physically struggling. Because I am. I used to be able to work 20 hours a week. It's now down to 16. Some weeks I can push it a bit, but no, it's 16. Unfortunately, I no longer have to work 20 hours a week. It's 16. So she said, you are eligible for PIP. Why are you not applying for it? And I said, well, I've already applied twice. Twice I've been denied. Twice I've been to mandatory whatever it's called, MR. Twice I've been denied. And it takes so much of my energy because I have to save my energy for work. I don't have the energy to apply for PIP because working is my priority. And I know I shouldn't, and I shouldn't be admitting this. I'm literally living to work at the moment. That's how low my energy levels are. So I've been told that I'm eligible for PIP. But the last time that I applied, no, I got 0 points. 0. So the chances that that's going to change and I go up to 4 points to get the health uplift are very small. So I don't know where they've got these 4 points from. And I think it's due to a lack of understanding about various illnesses, such as chronic illnesses like ME, long COVID, obviously, fibromyalgia, lots of other hypermobility syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So there's that. So the 4 points is a big issue for me. Who came up with that? And in any communications I get with MPs, that is going to be my main focus. Who the heck came up with that? And I should say, I've got two requests currently for the ME community. One is with ME Foggy Dog, and I'm asking anyone who has previously got 4 points on a PIP assessment for your daily living, get in touch with me, please, because I'm trying to make a record of who has actually found that they're eligible. Yeah, I'm asking, have you received 4 points as part of your daily living? And what would you class your severity level as being at that point of that assessment? Whether you're still that or not, what were you when you were assessed? Some people have given me a lot more information. I'm going to read out one in a minute because this person gave me a very good example of the ridiculousness of a PIP assessment. I'm going to read that out in a minute. And with Stripy Lightbulb, I'm asking for ME patients' experiences of DWP benefit processes. And I used to say, I want to hear your experiences. I want to know how bad it is. And I'm always surprised when someone says, actually, mine's improved. I don't know if it's just a regional thing, but mine's improved. I'm always surprised when people say they've had a bad experience. And that's why this time I've been neutral. It's kind of, I want to hear about your experiences, whether they're good or bad. If you check out stripylightbulb.com in the blog section, it's one of the latest blogs, and there's more information there. But if you could provide me with information that I can turn into a case study, if you are not confident in writing a case study, I just want to have some information to share with MPs and say, this is the patient lived experience of DWP processes. So whatever DWP says, this is the reality. That's kind of why Stripy Lightbulb's doing that. So there's two entirely separate things. ME Foggy Dog's asking for 4 points. Stripy is asking for your lived experience of DWP processes. What I've found so far, and obviously I've had about 30 responses. I would like a lot more, please. But so far, it's mainly moderate/severe and upwards. But I should say I've also had very severe who haven't got 4 points. Obviously, when I get a lot more examples, I will write it up in a blog and I'll make a thing of it. But at the moment, I've had 30 responses, so I need much, much more, please. But yeah, that's concerning to me. There doesn't seem to be any consistency in terms of who gets 4 points and who doesn't. But at the moment, most are moderate to severe. But yes, and with Stripy, I want to make sure that patient voices are included in the reform of DWP. I am, as I said the other day, there's a Keep Britain working group. I've asked to be included in the next section of that, and I've had a positive response. So that's good. Emmy will be included in that, at least with me. I don't know if anybody else is too. I think a lot of people don't realise that when you lose PIP, you also lose eligibility to other things. That includes council tax, reduced. Can't think of the words, but your council tax goes up. Unpaid carers, heavily influenced by PIP. Housing benefit, income support, pension credit, exemption from the benefit cap, and much more. Now, if I can work out how to present my screen, share screen. Oh, here we go. That's it. Share. So I'm going to point you all to this website, Turn to Us. You've probably heard of it before. All the information about everything you could possibly want to know about benefits, and PIP in particular, is on here. So if you want to know, oh, I'm going to be losing my PIP, what else will be impacted? And I'm hoping that not many of you are in that category. Please do check them out. They are www.turntous.org.uk. Hang on. Where are you? Okay. I should point out these are only proposals. Do not panic right now, because there are a heck of a lot of organisations and advocates fighting against these proposals. And if they are implemented, it's at the end of 2026. But I'm thinking that now's the time, just in case, to start thinking, okay, is there anything I can do? Can I get my finances in order? I hate that phrase, but is there anything you can physically do? Obviously, you can't work if you've got ME and you're physically unable to work, but is there any tweaking you could do? So check out that website and just see what else you are entitled to. My other concern is too many people are wrongly assessed and should get 4 points. And so I've also been having Twitter messages, Facebook messages, Insta, every single platform that we're on. I am severely affected by ME, but I've only got 2 points in every category. I reached the total, but I've never had 4 points. And I personally, as managing director of Stripy Lightbulb CIC, think that it's because of the poor knowledge base of the assessors. Yes, some of them, most, are HCPs, healthcare professionals, but they've never had training on ME. And more often than not, no, I've spoken to enough people that have been approached to be recruited to work for the DWP. And they've all been told that, you know, it's a bit like driving instructors. You know, you've got a target. They've got a target. DWP's got a target of how many they should allow through. And they're told to limit the amount of people that get accepted past the eligibility criteria. I've been told that by people that nearly turned to the dark side and became a DWP assessor. So there's that. So it doesn't matter how disabled you are. If they think, oh, I've got to deny a certain amount of people, it's not going to happen. So there's the poor knowledge base. So we know that the lack of knowledge amongst the NHS staff and internationally HCPs is an issue. We know that. And Stripy Lightbulb has been approaching healthcare professionals, NHS trusts, ICBs. We've been promoting our services internationally. Did you know you can learn about ME here? It's an online training platform. You can do it from anywhere. I've been doing that since 2018 with very limited success because ME is heavily stigmatized. People do not know what they don't know. No idea. They think they know what ME is. And assessors take you at face value in that assessment. They don't understand fluctuations. They don't understand that 2 days later you maybe won't be able to get out of your bed. They don't understand post-exertional malaise. Now, that's the bare minimum that assessors need to know. And I've been told many times, ME training is very niche. Why do we need to learn about ME? We understand all sorts of chronic illnesses. That's too specific. We don't need to know. I'm sorry, but prior to COVID, ME was the only, I think you get PEM with post-concussion syndrome. That's what everyone was saying before COVID. But since COVID, fibro has it, muscle activation has it, all sorts. And I don't know. I haven't seen the up-to-date thing from scientists. I don't understand how before COVID it was only post-concussion syndrome and now it's everywhere. But, you know, I don't know. I haven't got a degree in biology. So anyway, so yes, it's too niche. But I would argue that they're harming the latest estimate and the one that I go by with both ME Foggy Dog and Stripy Lightbulb, 1.25 million people, of whom around 75% would be applying to PIP because they cannot work. That's a lot of people that you don't know the core element of that illness. And, you know, if you don't understand PEM, you don't understand why work isn't possible. So bare minimum they need to know about is post-exertional malaise. And yes, I have been having meetings with DWP managers, regional, national, and I've used an awful lot of my own energy. Hang on. Use an awful lot. Oh, buy your mug now. mefoggydog.org. Yes, I've used an awful lot of my own energy trying to persuade DWP managers that they need to learn, and their staff and their assessors need to learn about ME. Because to be frank, Stripy Lightbulb training is not written by a medical person. I do not have a medical degree. What I do have, when I wrote the training, I had about 8 years of ME campaigning and advocacy behind me. I'm also very good at research, and I did a teacher training degree, and it's blooming good training. And we do a very good grounding, a comprehensive overview of what ME is. You need to know the history. You need to know the history. And then you will understand why the term CFS isn't liked, but it's used. You need to understand why the research is so massively underfunded, because that's why you can't offer us a blood test or a biomarker or appropriate treatment or care, etc., etc. So there's history, there's how does it present in a human being. So we've got symptoms and what is PEM. And then at the end, it says the last module is how to support someone with ME in working, learning and healthcare environments. So it's not specifically, this is how you diagnose ME, which would not be relevant for DWP assessors. This is how to support someone. This is the lived experience of ME, so that you get a better understanding of what it's like day to day if you've got ME, wherever you live around the world, but with the DWP specifically in the UK. Anyway, so this is why I would argue a consultation was needed, because that's one of the first things I would have flagged. Who came up with the 4 points, and where is this knowledge base going to come from? Now, this is one of the things I don't know if I can say. I know a lot more than I'm going to say now, but I don't want to get in trouble. So just in case I'm not allowed to say it. So I'm going to read it so I don't go outside of the lines. Right. So I found out a couple of weeks ago, Stripy Lightbulb cannot offer training to improve DWP knowledge when a future contract is offered by the procurement person. just say I can't expand on that. It's frustrating. So all that work for many years, well, it feels like many, it's like 6 now, many years, trying to get our training into the DWP, and then I found that out 2 weeks ago. I'm currently trying to find out who is going to be doing that, and it's not necessarily who you're thinking it's going to be. I can't say anymore. Okay, so right, so prior to yesterday's spring statement, universal credit looked like anyone on universal credit, it looked like you, from like a couple of years time, you needed to apply for PIP to get the health element, which would mean someone like me is, to be frank, screwed, because there is no way I'm going from 0 points to 4 to get the health element for universal credit. Just not going to happen. But bearing in mind I was really crashed yesterday, I couldn't quite keep up to date with what Rachel Reeves was saying, and I couldn't work out if that's still the case, because if that's still the case, then people like me are going to lose £400 a month due to PIP ineligibility. But this is the caveat, that may have changed because I didn't hear that said yesterday. But I have got a disability organisation charity meeting about the green paper this afternoon. So if I learn anything about that, I might post about that on socials, because if I'm confused, so are you. So that's that. Oh, yes, here we go. So for the past 5 years, literally since the first couple of months of COVID, I've been warning the government that increased chronic illness due to COVID-19 will likely increase the prevalence of ME. And I've been proven right. The current estimate, as I said a minute ago, is 1.25 million. And if COVID-19 induced ME is the same as every other trigger, then that would mean 75% of that new estimate are physically unable to work. And that's what I've been warning against. And I'm going to show you just one example of the many, and I'm talking hundreds of emails, blogs, you name it, I've done it. I'm just going to show you one of them. So this is in 2023. So this is literally 2 years ago. So written evidence submission to the Plan for Jobs and Employment Inquiry. Really long. I basically say COVID-19 is causing more and more people to get ME-like symptoms. Say about the how many people recover, only a tiny minority. Only a tiny minority after the 2-year point ever recover. I think it was about, I can't remember, I've got foggy brain. I think it's about 15% recover before the 2-year point, and then it's 5% after, I think, but don't quote me. Anyway, yeah, so I was concerned about the economically inactive rhetoric of both the Conservative and Labour parties back in 2023. And then in 2023, at the time of writing this blog, the UK government has yet to acknowledge officially that half of long COVID cases meet ME/CFS diagnostic criteria. Unless I've missed it, they still haven't. So 5 research studies say that half of long COVID meet the criteria for ME. You can read this in your own time. Where are we? Somewhere down here. So this is what I'm concerned about. If they they won't be able to, but if they force anyone back to work that's got ME, absenteeism is going to skyrocket. Because, I used to work full time with ME, but I was a lot better than I am now. And some afternoons, I used to sit there just gazing into space because I just could not function. Fortunately, it was things like, it was a very quiet day and I was sat on the counter and I was told to just sit there and wait or whatever. But absenteeism is going to go through the roof because people will not have the energy to work. There's lots of links and things on this blog. Hang on. This bit, it should be noted that only around 25% of ME/CFS affected people are physically able to be in employment. Many of these are only able to work part-time or with flexible working, and only 5% ever fully recover. And then in the NICE guideline, for those that can work, this is what the NICE guidelines say. They may be able to access reasonable adjustments or adaptations in line with the Equality Act to help them continue or return to work or education. There may be times when they are unable to continue with work or education, as some people find that going back to work or school or college worsens their symptoms. And then I've written, unfortunately, for many people living with ME/CFS, no amount of employment support or reasonable adjustments will help keep them in employment, though obviously this path should always be taken to see if retention is possible. So I'll talk a little bit about stigma. And here, please note, the UK government is not collecting data relating to the number of ME/CFS cases triggered by COVID-19. And so central government data on the prevalence of ME/CFS and the impact on the UK economy, jobs and employment is unavailable. And that would be my key point. How on earth can the government say that they know how, if ME is not included in data, they cannot be making informed decisions about who can and can't work? Can they? If you can explain that and say that they can, you're a better person than me, because they need data for that. So not only are they not doing a consultation, but they've not been collecting data on the amount of ME/CFS cases, so they can't work out how many people that are currently economically inactive, I hate that term, economically inactive, have ME. And I've said this in many disability meetings. I do not doubt that mental health issues prevalence, that isn't English, but you know what I mean, has gone up. I don't doubt it, because the last 5 years have been incredibly anxious for a lot of people, and obviously the war in Ukraine. It's just very topsy-turvy time, and everything all together. Yes, a lot of people will now have mental health issues. However, there's a caveat to that. There's also 1.25 million people that meet ME criteria, and of those, we see it every day on Twitter, Facebook, Insta, wherever. I've got what you've got, but I've just been given a diagnosis of anxiety by my GP. He says there's nothing wrong with me. I personally believe that the stats for mental health are inflated from where they should be. And I think an awful lot of those people may well have anxiety as part of their ME, because, you know, you can have it as a secondary thing, but that's not the reason they can't work. That's my own personal opinion. And that's why we need data on ME specifically, because I reckon, I was looking at all the stats yesterday, and it was like off the top of my head, 800,000 people have joined the unemployed stats in the last 5 years. And it's like, right, but I'd say at least 500,000 of those meet ME criteria. So, but they're not mentioning ME. They're not mentioning long COVID. They're only talking about mental health. Because if you talk about mental health, you can do mind over matter. You can offer them CBT. You can offer them exercise rehab. As we know, if you want to do our training, we go into the PACE trial and you can see the impact of that on too many people. But yes, so they're kind of my concerns. And I am raising all of those in various ways. And when I have a brain cell that allows me to type, and I don't know what my ME means, I can talk, but I can't type. It's really strange. Yes, so once I've got a brain cell, I will be typing all of this up. But if you could supply me with case studies, and yes, Sally, I've received 4 points. I've got, interestingly enough, I've had one person with mild ME say that they've got 4 points, but they've also said they felt that they had a very generous assessor. So I think the key takeaway is that assessments are very variable. I'm being very diplomatic. Very variable. It's not even necessarily regional. I think it's literally assessment by assessment, and depending on who the assessor is. Some will give you 4 points, some will give you 1, which does not do our community any. And I'm sure after speaking to many other disability charities, it's not just ME. It's not just ME. It's kind of good, actually, getting into meetings with other illness organisations, because it kind of makes you, because I think if you stay in our bubble, it's, you know, they hate us, they do this to us, they do, it's like, no, they do it to everybody. They do it to absolutely everybody. But with us specifically, it's definitely the poor knowledge base, the lack of a test, because it's, oh, you know, oh, you think you've got that. No, my GP diagnosed me with it. So I wouldn't be here if I didn't have a diagnosis. That's the other thing. They keep making out that getting a diagnosis for certain things is really easy. They keep making out that being accepted to PIP is really easy. As someone that's been through PIP assessments 3 times and not got anywhere, in fact, I think the most I ever got was 1.1, despite the fact that my life is massively restricted. You know, yes, I'm at the lower end of the spectrum, but I've still lost 50% of my functionality. You know, but unless they understand PEM, they're just not gonna know. Anyway, so I'm not gonna carry on waffling. Please do send me case studies, or if you've got 4 points. The information is on emmyfoggydog.org and stripylightbulb.com, and I'm posting about it on all the socials, so you shouldn't miss it anywhere. But as soon as I've got enough examples, I will be contacting MPs and informing them. Same with case studies. So help me with my advocacy and my campaign work. I'll be really, really grateful. Anyway, I'm going to go for a lie down. Thank you very much for tuning in. Catch you later.